done. Yes, there we go. Oh, my days. Right, so you couldn't hear what I was saying to you, and what the irony being, the irony of that is what I was saying to you was there's been tech issues all morning. So I'll just repeat what I said. I sat down at 10 to 1, so 12:50 to get everything going, and my webcam wasn't working, right? The webcam wasn't working. So I had to try and fix that. That took me around about 20 minutes. And because I was trying to fix the webcam, I kind of had to click around and get everything else, assuming, that will work fine too. As it turned out, the microphone wasn't working either. This has been one of those weeks. I'll just catch you up on everything I just said. Cheap plug, weird plug, whatever. That's how the world works. Patreon.com/SimonMiller316 if you want the information on the week. For example, why there was no podcast yesterday. Not the kind of thing I'm going to talk in public, but if it's a community-based thing, I feel better about doing that. But again, we don't look forward. No, we do look forward. We don't look back. You always look forward. You don't look back because otherwise you will trip up. Let's just get going. Welcome to Simon's Wrestling Show. We're going to do a mini one today. I'm not at 100%. Again, all the patrons know we don't talk into it. Quick shout out to everybody in the super chat. Undead FB Goo, Jeffrey W, and Lamel KH2 that mentioned the microphone. I always appreciate that. And Lamel also says Mustafa Ali gets a damn Oscar up. Dude, I still don't think you're getting the Oscar up, but it's good. I love you all the same. And on the subject of Super Chat, yes, it's there. Little $ beneath the chat window. Some people ask me this. Yes, it's a great way to support the show too. Again, all the money that I earn through, I don't know that much through YouTube, but YouTube or Patreon or whatever, I put it all back into my personal projects. It's why I'm able to free up the time to do personal projects because it does have a small stream of money going through it. So, and you can use the Super Chat to do that, or you can use the Super Chat to ask me a question, give me an opinion on anything I'm talking about. Put it like this. If you write something in the super chat, I will 100% read it out and I will 100% respond to it. That's like we do. And SimonMiller316 on Instagram, on Twitter, on Patreon, all those kind of things. Let's finally get into it, and we'll, as a quick catch up too, we'll try and get another episode done either tomorrow or Friday, maybe even later today. Who knows? To balance it out. Most hilarious thing happened within the last 24 hours. Chris Jericho having the AEW World title stolen. Because this ties into another project I've got going on at the moment. It's called Kayfabe News. I'm sure you've read the Kayfabe News. It's been going on for a long time. And the guy behind that absolutely smashes it. I'm now working with him to do the video version, the YouTube version. Subscribe to it right now. Search for Kayfabe News. And when I saw this headline, Chris Jericho has AEW World title stolen as he eats steaks or whatever the hell, I'm like, that literally could be a Kayfabe News article. It really made me laugh. It was one of those situations where, when all was said and done, that's actually quite good PR and quite good press for All Elite Wrestling because it's a story that will make people laugh and will probably get a bit of mainstream coverage too. Because I can imagine a few news sites running, brand new world title or former WWE superstar, so on and so forth. I mean, the question that everybody wants to talk about, is it a work? I don't think it's a work. Maybe if it turns out to be a work, I've got no problem with being worked. In 2019, some people seem to get upset when they do have the wool pulled over their eyes. But that's when wrestling's at its best. But to me, if you're already going to start, walking that line of it's a work, but it's not a work, but it's real, but I just don't think that bodes well for the future of the company. I don't think anybody there would have sat down and gone, I tell you what would be a great story if we have Chris Jericho's title stolen like 2 days after he won it. But it was hilarious, and it really was. It was interesting to see how everybody reacted to it. Some people thought it was like the worst thing to ever happen. Not really. Chris Jericho dealt with it really well, as he would. It built a lot of social media buzz online. And genuinely, it's the best thing to happen this week. Obviously, the shows over the weekend count as last week. And I like Raw and SmackDown. I actually thought they were quite decent. I thought they built a Clash of Champions quite well. We'll talk about it all in a second. But as soon as... it's kind of a twofold thing, like I say. As soon as I saw that title and doing all the kayfabe... I should say, I'm not doing the kayfabe news stuff, I should say. Flippin' Marks is doing is doing it. You can find it out now. Again, just search for kayfabe news on YouTube. Give it a subscribe. Give it a watch. Hopefully it will give you a laugh. But I thought, hey, we can start the podcast off by doing a little mini advert for kayfabe news. And also just talking about how great the world of wrestling is. Like, we have this amazing weekend where there's all these great shows and people are debating what was the best match and what does this mean for the future and, where are we going? And then we're on a Tuesday, sort of 10 p.m. or whenever the hell the story broke. And Chris Jericho is coming out saying, yeah, my All Elite Wrestling Championship got stolen. And it was a really weird story as well. Like, I kind of read it quite quickly because, again, many reasons. But he was in a limo and then, I don't even know. Also, if you are the person that stole the All Elite Wrestling Championship, you're an idiot because there's no way you're getting away with this. I mean, unless you just go under the radar for the rest of your life. And when you do get found out, all wrestling fans are going to hate you. They're going to think you're a moron. Chris Jericho is definitely going to hate you from what the idea I can get of Chris Jericho. All Elite's going to hate you. Bad move all round. I would sneak that title back as soon as humanly possible. I really, 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 really would. Let's get some super chats as well. Shout out to Lamel KH2 in the super chat. He says, I do get the Oscar up. I just love the Oscar up for no reason. Fair play to you then, my friend. Thank you for remembering the Oscar up. That's what I'll say. The Fielder Legend in the super chat says, CM Punk stole the AEW title. It's like Money in the Bank 2011. The CM Punk story was interesting. I had so many people tweet me. Not so many, but more than there should have been. AEW's a disgrace. CM Punk lied to us. Can't believe he wasn't all out. Bought the pay-per-view for CM Punk. Why? At no point. And someone said, well, they did tease it by having him at StarCast. No, they didn't. That is a marketing advertising opportunity. There's a big difference. And that did kind of make me realize it's not just exclusive to wrestling either. It's just a 2009 mentality that is fueled forward by social media because you can get instant gratification in that way. But we do live in a world now where we can make up our own expectations and we can paste our own ideas onto things. And because somebody on Twitter or whatever will go, oh yeah, I think you're right, we then believe it will be true and we get upset when it doesn't come back round to happening, which is an incredible thing. At no point did I think CM Punk was going to be at All Out. I kind of thought, oh, maybe he would be from a fantasy booking point of view. And I guess I was exciting about the thought because I'd popped for that. But to get mad about it and to say All Elite stole your money, sometimes we go too far. Sometimes it's a bit like the Mass Effect 3 ending. I don't want to talk about too much about games, but people were so mad at the Mass Effect 3 ending because it wasn't the ending that they wanted. They made such a fuss that BioWare changed the ending. It's a creative, story-driven piece of entertainment. Like, you can say that it's crap, and you can say that it's rubbish, and you can say that BioWare dropped the ball, but to say that it's offensive and insulting because you didn't like their direction and their sort of output for this. Anyway, it's crazy. Undead FBQ in the super chat says, think my dog has been watching too much wrestling. He did a frog splash off the back of the sofa and pinned my husband. If he does that again, Undead, you should film that and put it on YouTube. It will do very, very well. It's interesting you mentioned watching too much wrestling. There's a video going up on What Culture about that soon. Again, What Culture Wrestling. Hopefully you'll see me over there. And we'll break away in around about half an hour or so to go do live SmackDown Ups and Downs, 2 p.m. So make sure you join me. But we'll do it now. Let me do the last super chat. I think there was one more. There was from Bobby AJ, who says, why does the Florida police sketch of who they think stole the AEW championship look a lot like Andy Murray? I wasn't with Andy Murray last night. I don't know who was. Does he have an alibi? Maybe it was Andy Murray. Think about that. Imagine it was Andy Murray. He was listening to the Tool album, and then he stole the AEW championship. So yeah, talking about too much rest. Actually, let me do this super chat, then we'll turn around. Shout out to Jeffrey W in the super chat too. Again, I don't usually say this. I should. Thank you to all the super chats. Honestly, you help this show so much. So thank you. Jeffrey says, if I accidentally took the wrong bag, I'd take a few pictures with the belt and immediately tweet at Cody saying sorry and asking where I drop it off. That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. If you pick up the wrong bag and you've inadvertently stolen something, right your wrong. I think you probably got an hour to 2 hours before they realize, oh, this guy's just made a mistake. We're way past that deadline now. We are way past that deadline. So it's a stolen. I don't mind if they tie it into the storyline now, by the way. I think it'd be quite funny. And I think AEW has the right minds and the irreverence to actually pull that off. And it is funny. Not the act. The act isn't funny. The act makes you a dick. But it is funny, the timing of it and the way Jericho reacted to it. Because it's so preposterous. It's so wrestling, right? Again, it's so kayfabe news. Another cheap plug. But it's true. That's why those stories ring true. Because it's like, it's not real, but it could be real. Like The Onion, it's satire. Satire come real. South Park were right. You can't do satirical stuff anymore. Because it's happening. Right, talking about the weekend shows and watching too much wrestling. My big thing at the moment, and again, there's a video going up on What Culture about this, pay-per-views just need to be short. Not short, they're just too long now. And I'm not saying you can't have a long pay-per-view. You absolutely can. But I feel like we're doing it now because that's become the expectation, that's become the norm, as opposed to taking what you want to achieve on a show and writing it all down and saying, well, how creatively do we get there? Obviously, going back 10, 15 years, well, not even that long, when WWE used to do 3-hour pay-per-views, that was the slot, and WCW, that was the slot they'd been given by the pay-per-view providers. Now we don't really have that same problem because we're using the network, we're using Fight TV, we're using New Japan World, where you have much more say and much more control over the content. But I do think it equates to watching too much wrestling. And I don't have to watch all of it. That's always the comeback argument. Well, don't watch all of it then. But maybe you want to. Maybe you do want to. Maybe you want to be invested. Maybe you like AEW, New Japan, and WWE, and you don't want to feel left out of the loop. But I think Raw Quest was almost 4. All Out was over 4. NXT UK Cardiff obviously came in about 3.5. I don't mind that. But, I mean, the problem is, and it's not fair that there's been a knock-on effect, but that is always, we all have an entertainment lifespan, and there is always going to be a knock-on effect. And WWE running these gargantuan pay-per-views has now created this scenario to begin with, which is why it was such a surprise when SummerSlam was only 3.5 hours, right? But WrestleMania being 7, to me, 4 hours should be the absolute maximum, and you should get that on a All-Out / All-In if if the yearly Chicago show is going to be the WrestleMania of AEW, WrestleMania, Wrestle Kingdom, it's Slammiversary, I think is TNA or Impact, sorry. So yeah, that's my only concern after this weekend's of wrestling, which was great. I do think we may get to a part or a stage in life where you have to pick and choose. Who is your favorite company and who do you want to support the most? Especially because come that first week of October, 3 hours of Raw, 2 hours of AEW, 2 hours of NXT, 2 hours of SmackDown. We're at 9 hours already. You throw in a 4-hour pay-per-view even then, and you're going to be like, I'm a bit exhausted. The human body, is only built to deal with so much. Even when it comes to something you enjoy, your brain will get bored. So, yeah, just something I picked up on over the weekend, but I'll leave it there because I explain it more on my What Culture video. Shout out to Bushin Ryu Cat in the Super Chat. It says, Simon, 2019 is the best for wrestling in years. I like this already. I feel 100% retain Roman's attacker and the thief of Jericho's title is the Repo Man. Imagine. Also, I'm all in for the NJPW after G1. You're a WWE man and we're still friends. I'm not a WWE man. Some people, is that what you mean? You're a WWE and we're still friends. I don't know what I mean. I'm a wrestling man. I always say that. I sometimes get tweets saying you're so biased towards insert company here. No, I'm biased towards good wrestling. I like New Japan. I like All Elite Wrestling. I like WWE. I like Impact. I like MLW. I think they're all awesome. If it does turn out that Repo Man was Roman's attacker and that he stole the AEW title, what a change around! What a 180 that would be. Because we go from Repo Man having not really anything to do with the professional wrestling scene to being a major player in the two major companies. I am all good with this, my friend, and it's not going to happen, although I do want to thank everybody that tweeted me at Simon316 saying Repo Man stole the bait, Repo Man stole the belt. I love the fact that somehow I am now associated with Repo Man, just a character that I thought was ridiculous. Brilliant. Bobby AJ in the Super Chat says, speaking of Impact, when will you fight Sami Callihan? Well, Sami Callihan's vanished off the radar, hasn't he? I'm ready to fight him. I believe I challenged him to a match at his Pile Drivers and Pancake show next year, 2020. Miller goes to America to wrestle. But as of yet, we haven't heard from Sami Callihan. Maybe we will soon. Do drop me a line in the Super Chat to let me know what you thought about all the shows over the weekend. What was your favorite and so on. I thought they all offered something really, really different, and I appreciated that. Like Raw Quest. I mean, New Japan's wrestling quality, if you like what they do, is usually at the top, I find. Like, if you can buy into the strong style or whatever you want to call it, I find they rarely drop the ball. Like, everything on that show was incredible. Helped by the crowd. I mean, the crowd when Tanahashi beat Zack Sabre Jr. was nuts. They treated Okada like he was a king. Suzuki was like a pantomime villain in the best possible way. The Aussie Open versus GOD match I thought was really, really good. It was just a really easy to watch card because the fans were so into it. You couldn't help but feel the love and the sheer passion. It's like it's different in the sense that Hogan versus Rock, if you turn the sound down, it was a very basic wrestling match, whereas a lot of those New Japan matches were really, really quite good. But you add in, New Japan doing their thing at a top level, and you have that kind of support. Also, the Copper Box is a great arena. I've been there before, but looking at it on TV was awesome. I just thought that show it did everything that it had to do in order to try and establish a base over here if that is indeed what the plan is. Obviously, Robbie Eagles and Will Ospreay I thought were decent. Not more decent, they were great. Decent sounds detrimental. Yeah, I just thought it was so well done. I just thought it was so well done, and I was really, really impressed. And I haven't heard any bad words about it other than the stream, right? The stream, if you watch it on Fight TV, you may as well have watched it through cheese. I mean, you may as well have done. You may as well have pushed cheese into your eyes and then tried to watch normal TV. It was an absolute mess. Jordan Thomas in the super chat. Look at that. Just as you came up on the screen, because there's a delay. And don't forget, if you do throw money in the super chat, you get a little stone cold drinking some beer. I need to make him bigger. He's quite small. Jordan says, a possible idea for a debut. The Street Profits are cutting a promo backstage and they get interrupted by a tag team in the ring challenging them to a match. I would be all right with that. I would be all right with it. It's the Street Profits thing has run its course as far as I'm concerned. Just my opinion. I'd like to see them wrestle now. I think maybe WWE agrees with that too, as we only had one skit with them on Raw. They've been good at it, but it's like anything. If you want to see it evolve, and I feel like it stopped evolving. What I would do? This is probably a bad idea now I think about it, but bring back the Authors of Pain, put them in the ring, let them challenge the Street Profits. And then straight away, we've got two brand new tag teams having a match that on the main roster we haven't seen. I know you then run into the problem of who wins and who loses, but, WWE seems to get out of that all the time. And I just think that we've established both the teams and we can show the Raw audience, because I don't think anybody remembers AOP at this stage anyway, but we can draw a line, and we do need more teams in that tag team division. I'd be all right with that. Undead FBQ in the super chat said, showed my stepdad the match between Darby, Jimmy, and Joey. He turned to me and went, so it is real. Yes, I take that as a win. Oh, and I love that match, of course, because Undead, you've been trying to do that. And there you go. All you needed was a man ollieing a skateboard off another man's back with pins in it, and you managed to do it. Now, see, I got a bit of criticism about that. I think people misunderstood what I meant. We'll talk about All Out now, too. Again, thought All Out was excellent. Thought it was a great show. Too long. Again, I'm going to say that about all shows from now on because I've got to that point. That's just my inner being now. And yes, if someone said rank them, I'd say All Out, All In, Double or Nothing, All Out. But that's preposterous to me. We don't rank WWE shows, so why would we do All Elite Wrestling? All Elite Wrestling are allowed to have a show that isn't the greatest thing you've ever seen. They are allowed just to have a show that was really good. There seems to be a contingent of the all-out fan base that doesn't agree with this and finds it offensive if you say that, which is not my intention at all. I thought it was great, and at no point did I feel the need to compare it until that became a conversation. The hardcore, I don't mind hardcore matches, and in fact, I applaud AEW for including them because I think variety and diversity in all walks of life are essential. Therefore, if you're into hardcore wrestling, you may watch All Elite and get into Jungle Boy or Luchasaurus or Marco Stunt or SCU or whoever because, the door was opened thanks to the hardcore match, and once you step through, this whole new world was presented to you. That's why we should do it. But that one for me, by the end, I was like, I can't watch much more of this. Which has never happened to me before. Maybe I was tired. I was like, I cannot watch much more of this. It is becoming way too intense. And when Darby Allin took that coffin drop with the barrel onto the stairs, I was like, that man's back is going to be mush. I'm not trying to sound like, a big wrestler. I don't mean that. I mean, just in the literal sense. I've taken bumps, and I know how much they hurt. I can't even imagine how he's able to do that. So, yeah, maybe a bit much for my tastes. But I don't want them to stop doing it. Challenge me, damn it. And, most people said they thought the best match was the ladder match with the Young Bucks versus the Lucha Bros. It was an amazing ladder match. Like, it really, really, really was. Once again, if you saw that match out of context, you may be so encouraged to then watch the rest of the pay-per-view. But given whatever, the thing that stood out to me the most was Cody Rhodes versus Shawn Spears. I liked the story. I liked the fact it was booked like an old Mid-South territory. I liked the Gaga, with Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard. Thought Tully Blanchard was awesome. I kind of liked the pace of it. Felt a little bit slower, but not slow. I like Cody Rhodes. He feels like the biggest star in the company for me, although you can argue that. And I think it ties back into what I've just mentioned there. You have the back and forth and the comparisons. Cody Rhodes and Shawn Spears, more of a story angle. Young Bucks versus Lucha Brothers, a very modern 2019 ladder match where they're doing incredible things. The Canadian Destroyer through a table. How, man? How? It's unbelievable. And plaudits to Matt and Nick Jackson and Phoenix and Pentagon, of course, for just raising the bar, changing the game, being absolutely fearless. You don't have to like that stuff. Again, people go, it's just spot, 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 spot. Yes, but then if you want story, you had it with Cody Rhodes versus Shawn Spears. So I do really think AEW is catering for everyone, which is why I find it hard to criticize. Sean Gahorn in the super chat says, AEW would have to buck the trend on long pay-per-views. With Raw being 3 hours every week, they have no choice but to go long with theirs. See, I don't agree with that, my friend. I know what you're saying, and loads of people say with that, and I appreciate you throwing it in there. But in my opinion, Sean, it's... You don't. If you were still getting people to pay $50, then yes, maybe you would have to do that because you need to decipher what is worth. But I think when it comes to the WWE Network, where people are dropping $10 a month for pay-per-views, for old content, for original content, for whatever, I think you can just have a 3-hour pay. You could have a 1-hour pay-per-view, right? Look at NXT takeovers. Let's say you did a 1-hour pay-per-view, as crazy as that would be. If you could have a 1-hour pay-per-view, but when you were done, you looked around, you thought, that was so good, I'm going to watch it again. I got so much from that. It infused me and got my adrenaline going. I don't think anyone's going to complain. I really, really, really don't. I don't understand why we've boxed ourselves into this 3-hour mantra. It kind of is a problem with Raw as well. They have changed it recently. Why do we have an opening promo every week? Because that's what we've always done. Well, let's change it. And I guess maybe my worry with New Japan and AEW is they're not falling into that same category because it's really New Japan that pushed forward this idea of long pay-per-views. But now we're falling into that category. Whereas what I'd rather we did is we come up with our card and we go, well, Wrestler A versus Wrestler B should get 10 minutes. This one should get 8 minutes, 4 minutes, 6 minutes. And we need to do this, 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 this. Because then that creates... Then you're booking for the idea of the show and what benefits the audience and the fans and your product, as opposed to, well, we need to give people worth because they've invested so much money in time. And I do understand that because that comes back to video games too. There's been a long-running argument in video games. If someone pays 50, 60, 70 bucks for a game and it ends after 8 hours, is that fair? And I've always been like, well, it is if you enjoyed it. But this is the other problem. Only individual can decide what's worth it and what's not. Maybe you would feel ripped off. I can't answer it. It's an interesting debate. It's a really, really interesting debate. Crow Hardley in the Super Chat says, Simon, do you think Minoru Suzuki will ever win the IWGP Championship? If so, when were you pulling for him at Royal Quest? No, I wasn't, but that's because I watched Royal Quest like a bit of a loser, I should say, because I just knew they wouldn't change that belt on a UK show, and they'd already changed a couple of belts, so I thought, okay, I know what they're doing here. I think Suzuki probably does have one last heavyweight championship run in him, yes. I think it'll be a Tanahashi situation. I think he's older than Tanahashi, but still, I think you're going to get that one Clint Eastwood last hurrah as he rides off into the sunset, and I got no problem with that whatsoever. I don't think anybody would either, because he had such a good career, and he's just such a badass. You can easily believe that. So yes, I would say probably, I could do it at Wrestle Kingdom, but then that's difficult. Some point towards the latter end of 2020, I'd say. And if they really want to go, if Gator wants to go big with it, then yeah, early 2021 at Wrestle Kingdom 2021, whatever the hell that would be, 15, 16, I can't remember. But yes, I would. If someone asked me right now, as you are, my friend, I would say yes, and I'd be totally for that too. So absolutely. Jeffrey W. in the Super Chat. I started wrestling school yesterday. Amazing, Jeffrey. Bumps of fun till the next day. Speaking of which, when's our match, Simon? Lol, calling you out. Well, I think have a few more months first, my friend. Otherwise, we're going to have a terrible match. I'm still green too, let's not forget. That's awesome, though, Jeffrey. Definitely keep us updated about that. I always like to know how people's training is going. You're right. The first time, I'm sure I've told this story before. When I went to my first wrestling training session, I woke up the next day and I had to ring in work and tell them I was going to be late because it took me so long to get out of bed. I felt like I'd been hit by a bus. That is quite the feeling, man. You use muscles you don't even know you had and they run you into the ground. On the subject of wrestling, if you're in Sheffield this Saturday, make sure you get down to the Breed Invitational Tournament. Miller is going to be there, and Miller is going to win, hopefully. And then Miller is going to that. They're doing cave cast, whatever they're calling it. Wrestling in a damn cave. I'm going, but yeah, Saturday, Sheffield. But yeah, all in all, I did think All Out was good. I really, really did. I liked most things on it. I thought the Dark Order versus the Best Friends kind of suffered due to placement, and that there isn't that much love for the Dark Order at the moment, and they won. Big fan of Orange Cassidy being teamed with the Best Friends. Orange Cassidy has grown on me massively. There is a shelf life to that gimmick, as it is, but it doesn't mean you can't evolve it. And we did that whole What Culture video explaining we need more characters and nonsense in wrestling. Not everything has to be serious. And again, I know people don't agree with that, but it's cool. Again, it's a great thing to argue about. But I just, I like it, and I like him. I like the fact he came up with it, and I like the fact he got it over. I respect it. I respect it a lot. Undead FBQ in the super chat says, Bray, the Fiend in Hell in a Cell. You think it will be for the title? As you know, I am 100% with Bray, but scared this may be a bad idea. Well, I have said from the start that I want to get that Universal Championship onto Bray as soon as possible. Doesn't mean it's the right idea. That's just my gut feeling in order to try and protect him from suffering the same fate as he did before when he was just a non-starter. But yeah, it is soon. And I didn't necessarily like the execution on Raw. I love the Firefly Funhouse with Vince McMahon and the dollar signs. Thought it was hilarious. But again, it kind of ties into this new trend of, well, if you want a championship match, we just say that's what's happening. I think this will still happen, but I would have much rather Seth Rollins wins, because I believe it would be Seth versus Bray. Seth Rollins wins at Clash of Champions, lights go out, all the Fiend stuff, Sister Abigail, Mandible Claw, whatever you want to do on Seth. That's how the pay-per-view ends, and that could still happen, and it will still be great, because he's untouchable right now, Wyatt. But with the surprise factor of it not actually being talked about on television, I think it would have got a huge buzz. I would have titled my video that to try and tie into it. That's what people on YouTube do. I think it would have been fantastic. But WWE isn't a company that really relies on long-term booking anymore. So my worry would be if we don't do it sooner rather than later, again, and we're 6 months down the line, maybe the momentum's not there. Maybe that love's not there. Maybe the magic's died a little bit. Whereas now the magic is hotter than it ever has been. So if we do give Bray Wyatt a proper title reign, no matter where that ends, hopefully by then he will be established as a top guy and we never have to go through what we went through before. That's my hope. That's what we hope we want to do. Right, I'm going to shift on to NXT UK Cardiff too, because I want to make sure I get everything in before we break. Love the show as well. The Tyler Bates Walter match is... Again, this ties into my other point, right? That was like 48 minutes, but Cardiff, I can't remember how long that paid. It was short. It was 3 to 3.5 hours. And that benefited the main event because the main event went almost an hour. If I'd already seen 4 hours of wrestling, and then I thought I had to watch an hour main event. And again, Wrestle Kingdom has proven you can do this. I'm not saying there's not an exception to the rule. I just don't want it to become the norm is my point. I thought it was awesome that I could have that. If the event itself had been longer, maybe I wouldn't have enjoyed it. But yeah, an absolutely incredible, hard-hitting, well-thought-out, inspirational in many ways wrestling match. Obviously from two European guys, which I always enjoy. Not that it makes any difference. The tag match was great. The Last Man Standing match was great. Everything was great this weekend. Everything was great. I thought every company brought it, and every company kind of showcased what their promotion is all about, and I think that's what they had to do. It's almost a shame there wasn't a WWE show, because then we could have really looked at it and say, oh, who is where? But yeah, just a great weekend for wrestling. A great weekend if you're a wrestling fan. You've got all the choice in the world. And again, I thought Raw and SmackDown were decent as well. I really, really enjoyed Raw and SmackDown. Again, sometimes people focus too much on the ups and downs counters and how that ties into it being a good or bad show. You have to review it segment by segment. But the King of the Ring tournament, I think, has really found its feet. There's some shenanigans I'm not a massive fan of, but it's okay. That's just one man's opinion. I do feel like if you're winning in, the tournament, you are benefiting from it. And if you're losing with a good showing, you actually feel like, oh, damn it, I can't believe my favorite didn't go through. All the matches this week were good. I didn't like the finish to Balor versus Samoa Joe versus Ricochet, but I don't mind. I thought Corbin versus Cedric, his stupid name, Cedric Alexander. I thought that rocked. And everything on SmackDown too. Elias versus Ali. Elias' best match to date, no question. And then we had something else. I can't even remember what it was now because my brain has just turned to... Gable versus Andrade, which was fantastic. Again, did I like the fact that Gable won with it another roll-up from nowhere? Not massively. But look at the bigger picture, right? Chad Gable won, got a massive reaction. People are getting behind him. Don't like all the short stuff either, but it's working. So, I'm happy to step aside. So, yeah, I think the build to Clash of Champions is all right. The contract signing was a bit... Nyeh. I don't necessarily need to see a tag match and then Braun Strowman versus Seth Rollins. But it's not boring, and it is interesting. And I kind of give WWE a little bit of a pass because we're in early September, and that's always a bit of a low time for WWE. Not that it should be, but the tradition has taught me that. Shout out to DJ Mastermind in the Super Chat, just chucking some money in there to support. Appreciate that again. It's a great way to support the show. I put everything back into this, be it making sure that I don't turn down other work to free up my time or buy new equipment, which I may need to with this stupid camera, which I'm going to point at now for screwing me over at the start of this show. I do appreciate it. So thank you very much, DJ Mastermind. There was something else on SmackDown that I loved. The Bailey Hill turn we should talk about before we start to wrap up. not only was it, again, it was kind of obvious when she was stood in the ring, because who would do that? If you went and took a chair off someone, you would just look at them for 10 minutes. But I don't mind it. I like the suspense. I like the build. It always works for me. But Bayley finally turning heel was step one, right? And you're always going to get a good reaction for a heel turn because especially someone like Bayley, that's been a quintessential babyface for so long. But then to come out on SmackDown, have a really good reason for turning heel, which WWE doesn't have a good track record recently. Icing on the cake. And it made perfect sense. Sasha Banks is my best friend, so even if I do agree or disagree with her actions, I'm showing that I'm loyal. I'm a good person. I was loyal to my friend. How can you say I'm bad? That's the best way to turn heel. In your head, your actions are just, but obviously it's the way you went about it that makes you an absolute dick. So loved all of that. Interesting dynamic of her and Sasha Banks beating up Charlotte. Charlotte is a heel too. I enjoy that layering. Slightly worried that WWE are now going to team up Charlotte and Becky Lynch to take on those two. But let's just worry about that when it happens. It's not like they haven't done it before. And again, if that does happen, but the characters act like they would do in real life, so there is some animosity between Charlotte and Becky, okay, let's go with it. Let's go with it and see what happens. But no, I really like the Bayley heel turn. And I just love the explanation. I thought the explanation just rounded that all off really nicely. So shout out to WWE for that too. And the Roman Reigns, Erick Rowan, like again, I wake up this morning. I always like to check Twitter once I've seen SmackDown because you get a good idea of how people are reacting to it. Can't believe we're getting Roman Reigns versus Erick Rowan. No, it's good. Clash of Champions at best is a B pay-per-view. No disrespect, but no one gets super excited. Roman Reigns is still one of your top guys. In what other world did I ever think I was going to see Erick Rowan versus Roman Reigns? Not only that, but with a story that I've actually been invested in for a few weeks. With Daniel Bryan going to have some kind of involvement. Erick Rowan beat up Daniel Bryan. Is that a ruse? I should have said on ups and downs. I didn't. Maybe that's part of the ruse. Maybe it all ties in. Point being, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I think it hasn't been the perfect story, but as I've always said, I would rather WWE tried these things and failed miserably than didn't try them and just stuck to the status quo. And I think over the last few weeks, we've been trying something different. And the fact that it's ended up with me getting Erick Rowan versus Roman Reigns, I'm all right with it. I'm all right with it. I really, really am. And also, because the end goal is going to be Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns, don't do it at Clash of Champions. Do it at Survivor Series. Or do it at Hell in a Cell, which is deemed a bit of a more important. Because I think if you do it at Hell in a Cell 2, you can get the 3 matches out of it. I don't know what they're doing in December, but I wouldn't mind if they went Hell in a Cell, Survivor Series, and then finished it off at the Royal Rumble. I'm all right with that. Royal Rumble's a big pay-per-view. Roman versus Daniel Bryan in their rubber match, or whatever they're going to do, is good. I like it. It feels different. Erick Rowan's like a 6'6" monster. Do something with him. I thought he was great on SmackDown. Pissed off, mad, yelling at Daniel Bryan, walking around. Ah, man, I tell you, I was... and this is why I think WWE had a good week for TV, because it ended with a cliffhanger with Bayley, which they then paid off on SmackDown, and this one has ended off with, like, pushing someone into a spot they weren't in before. That's a thumbs up. I got no complaints. Again, there were things on there I didn't like, but overall... And I also think even the people in the King of the Ring tournament that we were worried about, Elias, Baron Corbin, I think that they're living up to it, really, really well. Like, Baron Corbin... The best thing about Baron Corbin and Elias is when they sit on the throne and they put on the crown or they hold up the scepter or put on the robe, their characters allow them to get away with it. If you did it to... Like when Wade Barrett was doing it, I don't think his character suited it, so he looked a bit silly. But Baron Corbin is a bit of a moron anyway. Elias is a super moron. We know that. So it works. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, maybe one of these people can win King of the Ring and it will be okay, because it will add that absurdity to their character, much like it did with Booker T or, oh man, one of many other people that lived up to that. So, yeah, I mean, I think WWE's done really well with the King of the Ring tournament, and now I think we should bring it back every year. It should be a huge build. People should be saying, I want to be in that tournament, and we should give the winner a number one contender shot at Survivor Series or at the Royal Rumble, whatever, however long you think you can hold it off. I think it's absolutely going to be awesome. So far, a good week for wrestling. All Elite, and I'm so excited about that first week of October now as well. I think it will benefit All Elite because they can now start giving storylines to their what do you call it? The mid-card talent, lower-card talent, whatever you want to call it. That will then serve the matches on the pay-per-view. That's not their fault. I think they've done a great job with it so far, but that will absolutely underline it. New Japan continues to be New Japan. If you like it, you're going to, be happy. And if you don't like it, don't worry about it. And WWE, I think mostly, last week's Raw, not so much. But ever since then, I think they've gone back on track. I think you can see some change. And look at the amount of people who are getting pushed that we wanted to get pushed. It was a shame we didn't see Buddy Murphy this week. But Buddy Murphy, Ali, Cedric Alexander, Ricochet feels like a bigger deal. The three-way next week at Madison Square Garden, which is Ricochet versus Baron Corbin versus Samoa Joe, apparently has been designed so that two heels can make Ricochet look like a king. So, it's just... I'm all right with it. I'm all right with wrestling. Shout out to my man Chris Van Vliet as well. In the chat right now, who just said Simon is the man. Chris is a really good dude, and Chris and I obviously did that interview a few months ago that you can check out on his channel. Just go and search for him. And yeah, what a supportive, positive chap. So as he is in there, shout out to him. What a good guy all round. That was it. That's the week in wrestling. Chris Jericho lost his title being the highlight of all of that. I tell you, man, it's good press. It's good press. As much as that may sound ridiculous, I'm just going to make sure. Oh, man, Batista being in Gears of War. Right, this is how we're going to end. Because I can tie it into my own cheap plug. So tomorrow, there is a Gears of War 5 sort of launch party that's being streamed. I'm very happy and honoured to say that I'm going to be one of the hosts. I love Gears of War. It's one of my favourite games ever. So make sure you check out that. All the information will be on Microsoft UK's Twitter and social handles, so go and check that out. But then when all this is going on, all of a sudden I found out that Batista is going to be in Gears of War 5, which is confusing anyway, because that's basically putting Dominic Santiago back in the game. They're essentially the same person, which is nuts. But it's just because how when people used to cast the Gears of War movie, Batista's name came up all the time. Obviously now he's an actor, so that you could actually do that. But I pop big for Batista being in Gears of War 5, and they've got Kat from Halo, they've got Sarah Connor. I think the Terminator's in it too. I love this. I know they're just skins, but I love things like that. I love crossover culture. It gets me excited. I love it when the Soul Calibur games used to do it, and now Gears of War 5 putting that in it. I think it's awesome. So, yeah, absolutely awesome. Some people in the chat pretending I'm no longer with What Culture. Ridiculous. I'm still with What Culture. Of course I am. We're literally going to break in 2 minutes, and we're all going to go over to What Culture Wrestling. We're going to subscribe if we haven't done, and we're going to watch Ups and Downs for SmackDown. Some people like to spread this lie a lot, and I get a tweet about it. I'm like, no, I am still with What Culture. Yeah, hopefully we'll be there for a long time to come. Fingers crossed. You never know what the future holds, but I have no intentions to leave. I don't know why people do that. The internet is just very weird, a very weird place. It's kind of good that we're coming up to 2 p.m. too, and it's maybe actually good we started a bit late because my voice is starting to go. Again, I'm not going to get into why my voice is so ruined. It's on the Patreon. Cheap plug, patreon.com/Simon Miller 316. If you want to help support me, and in this instance, if you want to find out why my ailments came and kicked my ass this week. But it's all good. It's life. You pick yourself back up and you carry on. This weekend, Sheffield, Breed Wrestling. If you're around, come on down on Saturday. Sunday, it's the final of the EWE shows in London, the Bedford and Ballon. Make sure you come down to that. I'm going to take on Leston Reese and kick his ass after he cost me my match this week, or last week, I should say, on Sunday. Again, sorry that there was no podcast yesterday. Sorry this one was delayed. It's one of those weeks. We all have them. I'm sure you have them too. But for now, let's go over to What Culture Wrestling. Let's up those down to SmackDown, starting in around about a minute. And we'll do another podcast probably tomorrow, or Friday, actually. We'll do on Friday, because tomorrow I'm going to be gearing up for this Gears thing, and I'll be nervous. So, excited, but nervous. But thank you again to everyone that supported me today in the Super Chat. I'm going to start writing them down. Actually, because no, I'm not going to do that. That's ridiculous. But thank you to everyone that does support me in the Super Chat. It really, really does help. Thank you for everyone for watching. That really helps too. It all helps. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done already. The button is right there. Like the video, share the video. Come follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Simon316. And yes, I'll see you on Friday for another podcast. But hopefully there'll be some content in between too. Also, the South Korea vlog will be up soon. My phone broke. Something else that happened this week. So right now the videos are in the cloud. Once I've been able to get them from the cloud, I'll make my South Korea vlog. Thanks for watching.